and you're going to do Savory Snippets from Sweeney.
Yes.
You're on.
Yes. These are just little small tidbits. I've been a little jealous of all these people in making shows, and I wanted to get up here and do something. I got a couple of little short stories I'll give you. Two of them are personal reminiscences of my own that I wrote. One is written by somebody anonymous that I got off of the internet. The first one is, when I graduated from high school, I was a little skinny kid. Can y'all hear me all right? Okay. In the 40s and early 50s, we were poor. Everybody was poor in those days. We didn't have much to eat. My mother and father both worked, and I had to share what my mother cooked with my two sisters. So I never knew what it was to have a second helping. Never knew what it was to have a second glass of milk in the morning. When I graduated from high school in 1953, I went to Navy boot camp, and I found food. Could not believe it. I became a chow hound. A chow hound can eat all he wants in the military. There's only one rule. What you take on your tray, you must eat. You go through the chow line, and in those days the trays had depressions for the food. It wasn't plates or anything, it was just a tray with depressions for food. One memorable evening, I went through the line, and I saw what I thought was Boston baked beans. I said, boy, I won't be able to get enough on this tray. So I grabbed a soup bowl, put a soup bowl on the tray, and I filled a soup bowl with those Boston baked beans, along with all the other food. Get to the table, and I was a little surprised. The Boston baked beans were not Boston baked beans. They were raisins in a heavy, sweet syrup sauce. I had to eat the whole bowl. Needless to say, I was a little uncomfortable the rest of that night. I could not throw it away. I couldn't risk not being able to get second helpings, so I ate everything. Now fast forward some years later, I became a sales manager, and I used to put on training sessions at airport hotels near the Atlanta airport. First time I did it, we had small groups, 5 or 6 people. First time I did it, I neglected to tell the catering manager how many people we were going to have. I said, I want an urn of coffee, I want some soft drinks, and some Danish pastries. Walk into the meeting room in the morning, we had Danish pastries, about 50 or 60 of them in a mountain, a pile of Danish pastries. And like the mountain, when mountain climbers climb it, because it's there, we ate the pastries because they were there. That evening I called the catering office, I said the meeting room was fine, everything was fine, but please tomorrow, cut the Danish. We walk in the next morning, and sure enough, they had cut the Danish. Every one of them was cut in half. Same pile of Danish. Now my third little snippet here is something that I did not write. But being of Irish heritage and the fact that potatoes were involved, I figured this would be an appropriate place to have it. I'm not a trained actor, don't know how to memorize lines, so I'm going to have to read it if you don't mind. Please bear with me. Well, girl potato and boy potato had eyes for each other. And finally, they got married and had a little sweet potato, which they called Yam. Of course, they wanted the best for Yam. When it was time, they told her about the facts of life. They warned her about going out and getting half-baked so she wouldn't get accidentally mashed and get a bad name for herself, hot potato, and end up with a bunch of tater tots. Yam said not to worry. No spud would get her into the sack and make a rotten potato out of her. But on the other hand, she wouldn't stay home and become a couch potato either. She would get plenty of exercise so as not to be skinny, like her shoestring cousins. When she went off to Europe, Mr. and Mrs. Potato told Yam to watch out for those guys from France called the French fries. And when she went out west, to watch out for the Indians so she wouldn't get scalloped. Yam said she would stay on the straight and narrow and wouldn't associate with those Yukon Golds. Or the ones from the other side of the tracks who advertise that trade on the trucks that say Frito-Lay. Mr. and Ms. Potato sent Yam to Idaho PU, that's Idaho Potato University, so that when she graduated, she'd really be in the chips. But in spite of all they did for her, one day Yam came home and announced that she was going to marry Tom Brokaw. They told Yam she couldn't possibly marry Tom Brokaw because he's just a commentator.